Hey everyone, welcome to Ink Scribes, the comics podcast where we discuss the art and craft of comics. I'm Colin Singh, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Eric Zawadzki and Taylor Stauft. Before we get into today's episode, Eric has a book to plug, so Eric, let him know.
So I've got an ongoing image book coming out called Assorted Crisis Events. You can find it at your local comic shop. It's been selling out, so we've got a second print and a
Hell
second
yeah.
issue, and I've got a whole bunch of covers. That's a cool Gabriel Walta cover. Um, yeah, just it's basically an anthology series, short stories to do with people in a world where time and space is broken. Every issue is an individual story. So, I'd greatly appreciate the support picking that up.
Isn't
Hell
number
yeah.
one going to third print now?
Yeah,
Did
we've
you say third print?
it's been a bit of a buzz book. So, yeah, there's a third print that should be out in stores right about now.
Sick. Get in on the ground floor, viewers. It rocks.
So today, very special episode. We're going to continue our look at Michael Golden's career, specifically the greatest war comic Marvel ever produced, the Nam.
Yeah, like we're gonna look at all the Michael Golden issues. So he contributed for the most part to issues 1 to 13. Um, but we're gonna look at the black and white magazines, and we're gonna look at the floppies. But just to start off, let's look at some of the stuff in the Michael Golden Artist Edition.
Oh yeah.
We'll specifically go to the Nam pages. So you guys read all of these Michael Golden issues. What did you guys think of these?
They were great.
Yeah, they were really good. Go ahead, Taylor. Sorry.
I had just never. The Nam had always been a series that I had heard of in in articles or listicles or whatever about like what is a good war comic. But I hadn't had a chance to read it before, not knowing you know it was the amount of research that had been done and the amount of personal experience that had been put into it. So it was super cool to see or to read it now. But Colin, I assume you've known about it and read it before, right?
Yeah, like I used to see it in the previews catalogs as a kid. It
Okay.
was like, to me, it was the book that Marvel was publishing, which was like a not Marvel book. And I
Yeah.
stupidly didn't have any interest in it. I didn't really grow into like an interest in war comics until I got into my, uh, later adult years, I could say. So yeah, I didn't get into it as a kid, but I always knew of it, and I always knew that Larry Hama was working on it. Doug
Right.
Murray was actually a veteran. Am
I
I
think Hama
correct
was
in
too.
that, Eric? I'm pretty sure he's a veteran, right?
I
The
believe.
original writer.
Yeah, he and Hama were vets in Vietnam.
Yeah,
Uh,
so I think the genesis was that Larry Hama got it. He was the editor. He got it started. Put the team together. So just want to show off the comparison with the original art here. Very intricate stuff. But mostly I want to look at this page right here. If we go to right here, I'm getting love bombed by this cat. um,
I'm
you
sorry, baby. I'm sorry I hurt you.
so you can see here that Michael Golden has actually denoted where the lighting should be, and he doesn't do it on every page, as you can see here. But I just found this interesting that he is only listed as the colorist on the first issue. So this is issue 5, and this was colored by Phil Felix, but Michael Golden still had a hand in the colors, as you can see the red line here
Right.
denoting the color breaks, and especially like the white areas on this dude's face.
This is what 1987, 88.
This is 86, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
oh, 87, April 87. It's
This is
the
this is a
cover date.
lot more now that you've pointed it out, that it's a lot more subtle of coloring than I would expect from a late '80s comic. Like
Oh,
it's the sort of thing I would expect from like a '90s book, just because of like paper quality and stuff that you could actually put it down and read it more clear. Um, but actually, could you flip back one page in the artist edition?
yeah, back to
Uh,
here.
yeah, Colin, does and I don't know if this is the whole book, but on this page specifically, when I was reading them, it stood out to me. Does this read like the guy that Guts kills, like the first victim of Guts in Berserker? Berserk?
The Berserk. Are you talking about the female demon that is
No,
at the very
no,
beginning?
sorry, not the not. I guess his chronological victim, from the beginning of the Golden Age arc.
Oh, right.
As soon as I saw him, I was like, "Is this did Mora rip this off?"
No, no,
Oh, which one? This guy?
No, the black
no, no, no.
guy.
The guy in panel one. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's like the first guy that Guts kills as a 11-year-old after
yeah.
he's
Donovan.
after he's assaulted him several
Yeah,
times.
yeah,
You okay,
yeah.
Colin?
No, I don't. I don't think. I don't like. Yeah,
It's the smile that
yeah,
really got me. I was like, "Oh, that's
yeah,
gross." Which I
yeah.
guess is a
He's
testament.
definitely got a sleazy look. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see here that it's definitely been lettered on the page because you can see the blue pencil line left over.
Yeah.
But when we get to later issues, oh, actually no, this is still issue 5. So yeah, some of issue 5 looks like it was penciled on the page, but some looks like there was pasted down lettering. So
I wonder if the balloon
this is falling off.
was yeah, like if the balloon was from. Oh no, you're right. Because if it falls off, then it takes the outline with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, and it there's only one word balloon right here, but it looks like it kind of fell off and got pasted below it for a bit because you have two sort of
But there's still that blank spot.
Hmm.
yeah, and like yeah,
So what,
just
he's not drawing it. He's just kind of leaving that space open.
well, I think that the NAM was late often, so there was probably just situations where some of it had to be lettered on the page and some of it couldn't.
Mm.
Where is it?
The helicopter crash. Do you have that actual comic? That's my favorite scene in all this stuff in the artist edition.
Oh,
You
yeah,
should have
we'll get
brought.
to that in a
Yeah.
second.
Okay.
Let's see, page 17. I also wanted to look at where is this page? Right here. So yeah, like that's fallen off, and also you can see the explosion line here has been sort of uh,
Oh yeah.
denoted, and it's very subtle, but you can see where the white has been put in and where the yellow is. So like that's Michael Golden, showing the colorist where he wants certain coloring detail to be.
Mm.
So I mean, and yeah, also right here and there, which is yeah, it's just such a subtle bit of color work.
It's
Um,
interesting to see like if Michael Golden had his way, this book is coming out what every 2 months rather than monthly, probably. Just so he has the time to put into what he wants.
oh yeah, and you can see that like compare this first issue and how detailed it is
Hmm.
to issue 4, and it's still fairly detailed, but just not as intricate. Like
Right.
these almost look like different artists
Mm.
with but I mean clearly the style is the same, but just the amount of lines on the page is different. Something I found interesting with this page is that most of this is drawn on the page, but then it looks like there's paste ups here, and my theory is that there was only one word balloon here and this tail went all the way down there, but then they added dialogue, like somebody in editorial maybe John Romita and his Romita Raiders or whatever added these balloons afterwards.
Does it give it any more additional context though?
Well, I mean, it's just. I mean, it does add more information about like um, Polkow, Sergeant Polkow. But right here, like they're talking to Rob and saying that he's green, and
Mm-hmm.
then somebody calls him Greenie right away. But I guess they add an extra bit of conversation here.
Hmm. It almost looks like somebody saw a huge amount of negative space not being utilized and thought, no, I can cram something else in there.
I mean, yeah, maybe you can actually see the propeller
Yeah.
underneath this, which is like usually. I mean, this ink on the board. All these were balloons except this, so there was ink under there. So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
just found that interesting. And there's also arrows pointing there, and I have no idea what that is because I don't know. It looks the same there, but yeah,
Is it a,
it's just this is the fun of these artist editions is
yeah.
to see the the notes here. You go and add dialogue right here. You have it looks like Michael Golden wrote "Come on, kid," so evidence of Michael Golden coming on um, and adding dialogue, maybe.
In
But
the tradition of Kirby and Ditko, yeah. Realizing, no, you need something else here.
yeah,
Hmm.
and that's I wonder. I don't know if these were full scripts or Marvel method. But yeah, I also want to show this off. Let me
Well,
see.
from our Capullo episodes, we know that even into the 90s, Marvel was still using the Marvel method. I get the feeling that Marvel kind of breaks with that at around 2000 when like the new crop of writers, Bendis and Millar or Miller, uh, come on.
Yeah, I think Quesada wanted it to be writer first,
Yeah.
basically. I think Quesada
Well,
thought, like the writing really sucks. We need to improve things,
yeah.
and part of that was to go full script.
Actually, yeah, for the audience, the concept of the NAM was every issue was a month in so-called like real time. So it was like a
Yeah.
month by month. Every issue was like the next month in the story, which is a pretty cool concept.
It
So it
was,
leaves a
yeah.
lot of room for Marvel Method in that case too, right? So
And it gives you, yeah, because it says it at, is it at the beginning or the end of each issue? It gives you like, here's a rundown of like terms that are used and
Oh
explanations as
well,
to,
yeah, there'd be a glossary at the back.
mhm.
but yeah,
Um,
their explanation of like, yeah, there are going to be people you just don't see again because we were not following them in the month before they left or something like that.
Mhm.
Just kind of giving the audience a heads up of this isn't like a regular comic.
Yeah, so quickly I want to show off like he's denoted the fire here, and so you get like holding lines basically for the fire. But on the magazine, it was recolored, and you just get line work there. So I don't know what the story there is, but it's also cool that you get the helicopter blades um, separated.
This may sound weird, but man, the way he draws helicopter blades, like that cover, the tip on the left hand side, the tip of that blade is just like, yes, that's the perfect kind of blur for a,
Mhm.
for a camera kind of capturing a moment in time.
Yeah, it's like a VCR when you pause it and they got the track lines.
Yeah. Yeah. And it
Yeah,
shows you
that's
the
like,
motion blur.
yeah.
And here you get some more examples of the helicopter blades, like where it's just the bit of color is cut out there, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's a nice little blur effect, and also just like holding lines right there for the colorist. So yeah, like Michael Golden was thinking on all levels. He was very intricate in all his planning, which we'll see more of as we go through. And so this was like his last issue, but he did continue to do the occasional cover. So this is cover to 42. But moving on, before the Nam, uh, the story is that I guess they were bringing back Savage Tales, which, if you remember from our last Barry Windsor Smith episode, the Savage Tales in the 70s had red nails, but the Savage Tales, the rebooted Savage Tales in the 80s, um, had, I guess, short stories, and one of them was the Fifth to the First, which I think Larry Hama would get prose stories from Doug Murray, and he thought it would be, I guess, a good idea to get Michael Golden to illustrate those prose stories.
Oh,
And so here we have the introduction of the characters who were reoccurring characters, I believe, in the Fifth to the First, because this was going to be a recurring thing. There was only really 3 stories, 2 of them in Savage Tales issue. So the first one in Savage Tales #1, the second one in Savage Tales #4, and there's a third one that wasn't published in Savage Tales. I think Savage Tales got canceled, and so they didn't know what to do with it, and it eventually showed up in like the NAM #7 or 8, which we'll see eventually. But here are the first 2 Fifth to the First stories. Did you guys get a chance to read these ones?
Yeah, the art, the figure work in this one is my favorite, especially in panel 3 on that page there.
it does feel, yeah, it feels
Very flat.
more.
It
How?
feels lived in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like the
Yeah.
proportions are kind of more. They feel more considered, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, lived in, like, man, their gears breaking down. They've personalized helmets and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think this appealed to Michael Golden because it's only like 7 pages, I think, and he was told, "Look, you can take your time and make this as pretty as possible," and he clearly does. Um, yeah, so he did 2 of these. So this one's like 7 pages, and the next one is 6 pages. Um, yeah, this is basically just an interesting prose story. This one about heroism, and then this second one is about like it looks like a couple of platoons taking on a single sniper. And there's a bit of a twist at the end, which yeah, we're gonna be very spoilery with the Nam, so I won't spoil the Savage Tale stories because they got some like this one has an interesting twist, but yeah, I don't have the actual Savage Tales magazines, uh, but I mean it's nice they're completely here in the artist edition. So if you can still find this Michael Golden artist edition, anybody watching, I highly recommend it. We're going to look at this a little more when we look at other Michael Golden comics, but for now, the Fifth to the First was just prelude to an ongoing series, the Nam. And let me just zoom in here because we don't need the artist edition anymore.
While you're doing that, can I ask you that? So Michael Golden doing interior work, like he wasn't really working full time doing that, was he at the time? Was he also a creative director?
Oh no, I think he was a creative director in the early '80s, only for a little while.
So did he, leave that to do this and then on to the next thing? Like,
No,
was
well,
he?
I mean, he was in and out of comics. I think he was like,
That's what I mean. Is like, where does this relate to where he was at overall in his career?
I
Was he doing this full
I
time
think he
or?
was. I'm not 100% on this, but I think he was frustrated at comics for a bit, and he
Mhm.
wasn't even working in comics. I think he was like, I think he got gigs like herding cattle, like across the country. Yeah, I think the Fifth to the First actually inspired him to come back to comics. Like he really enjoyed the storytelling, and I guess he put it out there to DC and Marvel that he wants to come back. And I think he was gonna go on Batman at one point, but that didn't really happen. I think they convinced him to do the Nam instead.
Yeah, it says here, and this is just the Wikipedia article, but that uh, he has stated that he still finds advertising and commercial design work to be more fulfilling than comics because, quote, it's something different each time. So I assume that when he's not working in comics, he's doing illustration and design work.
Mm.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, comics is a lot of work for not very good pay, but you have to be really passionate about it. And clearly, he's a storyteller at heart.
Yeah.
All his
Mm.
covers tell a story, and as an illustrator, you have to tell a story. But yeah, like look at these two covers; they're colored completely differently. I don't know the story behind why they needed to recolor them, but I don't know. Which do you guys prefer?
I think I prefer the magazine.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I'd say the magazine.
Yeah, just
Although I was gonna say the magazines, the black and white magazines, they really have like a they have their own identity on that cover because the color came out first, right? So I know the color
Yeah.
first over the magazine. I only knew about the magazines, Eric, when I saw yours. So
Yeah, yeah, you know, I do like the color in later issues, but in this first one, like the art is so intricate that it doesn't show up very well on this like this bad newsprint. You kind of don't realize how bad this is until you see the crisp lines that are reproduced
yeah,
on the magazine. I think we do like newsprint for these old comics because of the color. Uh, there's just something about how the color is reproduced and how everything kind of blends together because of this really terrible, like newsprint paper.
mm-hmm.
And it is such a defining quality of the medium, but the line work does kind of get obliterated. Uh, yeah, there's just like a whole bunch of little details that you appreciate more when you look at the magazines. But we'll go deeper into a lot of that. Um, just as a sort of introduction, I think you guys were mentioning earlier that the conceit of the series was that while the comic was coming out, it was happening in real time, and basically every issue took place like the month following the previous issue. So yeah, so we're introduced to Ed Marks here, and this is him joining the army, and then over the course of 13 months, 13 issues, he does a tour because the average tour of Vietnam was 1 year. So by the time he gets to issue 13, he is a changed man and he gets to go home.
Boy, is he.
Yeah, and that's the fun of this series I mean, especially when it was coming out, I'd imagine like you experience someone who is very green and they keep calling him an altar boy, and you see how different he is by issue 13.
Yeah, it's the classic Vietnam story, right? It's because that's what there's that in like Platoon as well.
yeah,
That you're in the shit and you are changed.
yeah. It gave me the Band of Brothers HBO series vibe, like as a
Yeah,
TV. Like the Nam would work awesome as a TV show. I think.
yeah, it would.
Yeah,
Yeah, and actually
like a
I think
single season or something.
Hmm.
this comic was very popular among Vietnam vets. Like they saw this
Mm.
as more legit than any other media out there. This comic.
Despite the fact that editorial has to put in the back kind of a disclaimer saying this is as close as we can get working within the comics code. We
Yeah, I should say the first to the fifth stories were not comics code. They could be
Oh, okay.
Mm.
as bloody as possible. But yes, you're right. Like this series is in the comics code, and that was there were some criticism to that. Like I mean, we'll probably see some letters. We'll look at the letter page later on where people are some people aren't happy with that. But I think Michael
Yeah.
Golden wanted it to not be code approved, even though he's not like he's very critical. Michael Golden has been very critical about overly violent media, so
Yeah,
he's not a gore guy.
but if it's depicting what actually happened, I can see him making an allowance for that, right? This is kind of fictionalized to tell the truth of what happened.
Yeah, and I think they wanted to show this to as wide an audience as possible. And
Yeah.
even though like
You know,
it I think after around issue 20 it became like direct market exclusive. You could only buy it in comic shops.
Um,
Um, but like for the first several years, I think you could get it in on the newsstand.
like 87, that is not that far away from the end of the war for America, which is around 73. Like I know there's the Saigon bug out and stuff in 75, but a lot of the active military actions were very much wrapped up by 73. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
that's
Eh,
14 years. Like there's I could definitely see and appreciate the logic of if we don't say anything, you're gonna forget this. You're gonna forget the
hmm.
absolute disaster that this was.
well, and that's the thing. I think after the pullout in 75, you couldn't find traces of
Yeah,
Vietnam in any media for like a decade. Like it
yeah,
was
they
seen as sort of
really,
like let's not talk about this because they're. I mean, it was it's there were so many complicated feelings about it within the United States. Um,
yeah. The only thing I can think of is Apocalypse Now, but even then, Apocalypse Now was kind of the story I had heard was that the U.S. military they have an office for film production to kind of give you, like, hey, if you want to use a real aircraft carrier, talk to us about it. But we do need approval on that script, and they reached out. Coppola said, "No, nobody's touching this script," and forwent the military's active involvement and they have a media relations department. It's not like they couldn't have put pressure on various outlets to discourage or disparage or flatten the message of the movie.
yeah,
Um,
I mean, in Apocalypse Now, they filmed it in the Philippines and they had to get the Blackhawks from the Filipino government.
yeah,
And but they occasionally the government had to take them back to fight guerrillas in the hills, and it's sort of like, well, we can't film today because but yeah, like
sometimes mid shot. Yeah,
how about this Michael Golden art?
that is the most the previous right hand page top corner. That is the most McFarlane chin I've ever seen. Like the guy leaning forward
You
with
know
the
it.
smoke in his
Oh yeah,
mouth.
this
That's
actually
just so McFarlane to me.
this panel is what I think about when I think about this series. Mostly because of the color. So Michael Golden colored this issue, but I don't know. I was just so impressed by
Oh,
the rendering and the color in this one panel, and it really stuck out in in my memory. But although Michael Golden did a great job coloring this, it still works in black and white. Like right here, this this face, um, he's looking out at the lights in the sky and everything, and yeah, I mean, it works really well in color, but it's still very clear
oh
in the
yeah.
black and white.
Mm.
Yeah, there's something about that panel. Just love it so much.
The it's for me, it's the shadow. I think that's a fantastic depiction of. I'm actually not sure. I should know this, but I don't know what that kind of shadow is. But where it's like it's a delineation because you've got two light sources competing. I know there's a term for it, but it's just
Oh, is
so
it
well
like
rendered.
cast shadow? I don't know. I'm so uneducated with
Yeah, I
illustrating.
don't remember a lot of the terms anymore.
But yeah, just like impressive work. Look at the absolute chaos going on here. Look at how many helicopters he has to draw, and
Mm.
you've got just so many vehicles, and just he's illustrating all this chaos, and it's just so impressive. And then the amount of figures on here.
Doing different stuff.
Do you think, Eric, that splash page was done obviously with photo reference, but like even the composition was probably photo reference too?
It's gotta be, right?
Well, I mean, I'm sure he had photo reference for the
I'm
airport
just
that they're
like
landing in, but you know,
from where I'm like sitting. Obviously, I'm looking at a screen, but looking at it from here, like at a distance, it looks like that it could have been even a photograph. That's all.
no, I mean, he's just one of the most impressive technical illustrators around,
Mhm.
I think. And in our modern day, like we have 3D models we can reference. We can go to certain websites and like look at specific 3D models and turn them around and change the lighting. And back then, their version of that was to actually have tiny models.
Oh,
And
good point. Yeah.
so yeah, you can have a model of a plane and then just like look at it at a certain angle and you know
Mhm.
reference it that way. But yeah, I don't know. But like look at this page. There's I think like 6 different vehicles on this one page.
Yeah.
You got like multiple different helicopters. You got jeeps and whatever these are. Yeah, just the amount of reference that he would need. Yeah, it's just such an impressive job. Like this is probably one of the most impressive comics of the 80s, this first issue of the NAM. And
Yeah, like I was saying in my introduction, it's if you say it's one of the greatest war comics put out by Marvel, you're not going to get any real pushback from that. That it is true. Marvel, they were publishing it because it was something special, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. They're not really known for their war comics. That's really more of a
Because
DC thing,
at the
right?
time, every Marvel comic it had to do with the Marvel universe. Like they didn't publish too much outside of that besides licenses, right? So the Nam was, it was a real special on its own
Yeah.
book.
it is surprising that it came out because even then, like war comics were big throughout comics for a long time, but in the 80s, not so much. So, but this first issue outsold X-Men when it came out.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, it was like the number one comic that first month it came out, and
That's the
that's just
height of
yeah.
X. Oh my god.
There was just buzz, and there's like a write up in the Washington Post, which big news outlets weren't writing about comics back then, and then it also just became buzzed about in veteran circles, I think, and that's actually really hyped it up as well, and yeah, it became one of those books that everyone was talking about at the time.
Did it finish like, or was it canceled? Like, did they actually complete the
Yeah,
story? Because
I
it went on for 40 plus issues, right?
yeah, and I think it eventually was canceled. And actually, I want to comment on you saying that it wasn't in the Marvel universe. I think Doug Murray quit because a new editor came aboard after Larry Hama, and they wanted to put the Punisher in and basically integrate it with the Marvel universe. And Doug Murray was not into that. And
Yeah, I'm
Mm.
now reading. The character Michael Ice Phillips would go on to reappear in the Punisher War Journal 52 to 53 and Punisher War Zone 27 to 30.
yeah, and that might have been a way to. I suspect sales were going down, and that might have been a way to goose sales.
Yeah, it looks like it went for, god damn, a lot. 84 issues. Holy shit. That's so
That's a lot.
much for a non superhero
That's
war
a
book
solid
in the,
7 years.
yeah, in the late 80s, early,
That's a good
like into the
run. Yeah.
90s.
Yeah, and
X Men #1 came out when this was still being produced.
you can kind of understand looking at this art why it was a hit, but I
Yeah.
mean not to. I mean there were some good artists that took over, but this art is special. This is like very few books in the 80s
Definitely.
can compete with this kind of art.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, here we're introduced to the regular cast. Actually, yeah, right here, his friend Rob is introduced for the first time, and then the the sergeant who will become a significant character, and yeah, and then here we get Albergo, Albergo, which
It
is a
means hotel in Italian.
oh yeah,
I just learned that.
friends
Yeah.
named him after a hotel or named him Hotel,
Yeah,
or I guess that's his last name maybe.
it is. Yeah. Yeah, he's like Mike Albergo or something.
And yeah, so something you guys mentioned earlier is that this comic throws you into the deep end when it comes to terminology. And it kind of reminds me of The Wire that way. When you
Yeah.
watch The Wire, they don't hold your hands. The police are talking like the police, and they're saying, you know, jargon and terminology that you just have to sort of go along with the ride and figure out later. Like when Ed Marks meets all these people, this guy basically says that he's short, or of himself. This guy says that, like, oh, I'm short, and Ed Marks is like, short, and he's not told. Like, no, he's not even told. We're not told. There's a glossary in the back that we can consult to find that out. Even here, you have terminology where he shows this gun, and what does he say? You can tell it's Mattel. It's swell. Uh, that's just like terminology that they would use. Which I mean, I guess they're basically saying it's a pretty crappy gun. It's like a Mattel toy.
Hmm.
And short means that, like, you don't have much time left. Like, this guy's about to go home.
Yeah, you've crossed like a specific number of days left. Because in the later issues, Marx will introduce himself as that to a new recruit. I think he'll say that he's short.
Yeah, and
That's
it's
right.
fun that you get to experience all this with him. And yeah, here's all the terminology in the magazine, and then in the comics, you generally get it in the letter page.
Yeah, the incoming.
Yeah, so that's a fun aspect of it too. Is it just throws you in, and that's why a lot of people, I think, felt like it was legit, because it wasn't big on exposition, as we explained. Oh, I'm short, and let me explain what that means to you. It's just these people are just talking like real soldiers that were there.
Mm.
I do also want, because this is the introduction to everybody scene. I do also want to shout out just how great of a job Golden does with making everybody a distinct character, not just in face, which we can all see, like everybody's got
Mm.
different face shapes and stuff, but also in the way they dress, the way they hold themselves. Like Albergo is almost always in a t-shirt, despite being in the United States military.
Yeah.
And but like Marx will keep most of his uniform going, and they have specific stuff that's strapped to them. They have different ways of moving. It's really great work on in terms of character design and what that means for the storytelling, because it's so clear who is who.
And that's a thing with war comics. It's very difficult. You need to have differentiating faces. You need to be very clear on who, like, to make everybody look different, because they're all wearing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're all wearing the same uniform, and yeah, you get like some people wearing t-shirts and some people wearing the uniforms, as you said. But he does a very good job at, like, leaning into the cartooning and drawing like different kinds of faces, so that you're never unclear who's talking. And Michael Golden's earlier work wasn't. It had a little bit of cartooning to it, but not like this. Like you get some more like realistic looking face. I think he's drawing like a real person there, but you know, and that is to some extent cartoony, but like look at the difference in faces on this dude compared to Doctor Strange here. Just like
Mm.
the mouth shape is a lot more exaggerated, and like right there. This Doctor Strange comic he did like a couple of years before that, and so for this Michael Golden leaned more into cartooning, just out of a necessity. And I think a lot of it was to also juxtapose just how dark this comic was. It sort of balanced things out a bit.
Mm. He also has the opportunity of creating all of these characters from scratch, whereas if he's coming into Doctor Strange, he's got probably close to 100 issues at that point across the different series to he has to be on model for.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Jim Shooter was big on the house style at the time,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, less pressure on a book that's basically supposed to be outside of the Marvel universe. Now, I will say that this early issue doesn't flow very well for me because it's just too detailed during the action scenes. In my opinion,
Sure. Yeah.
I think if you want an action scene to really flow and move, it should not be as detailed as this because I just want to stop and linger on every image.
That's true.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, and to each their own, I guess.
Do you think the color helps it in this case?
Possibly because yeah, a lot of the detail gets sort of like just
Subdued.
yeah, just kind of
yeah.
obliterated.
Like refocuses.
Like yeah, yeah, like the blacks are just like gray basically. So the background detail kind of disappears. So yeah, to some extent, like this first issue like reads a little better probably in the old newsprint in color, but you know you lose all the detail. Like he put so much work into all this stuff, and it just disappears in the newsprint. I if I put all that work in and it looked like that, I'd be kind of pissed.
Yeah. Uh,
But I mean, as issues go on, they get less detailed because this is unsustainable. This amount of detail on a monthly book
Oh yeah.
is not sustainable. So we will see that the amount of detail gets dropped out a bit, even in the next issue, and then more and more as the issues go on. We
Which
should say that this is inked by um, Armando Gil, who worked with Michael Golden quite a bit, I think, in the 80s and 90s. And Armando Gil only did the first 3 issues, I believe.
which is it's interesting that he had been working in comics for quite some time, but I guess it goes to show you that like even if you're a veteran of this, there are still things you need to figure out each project. Like what can I drop out and what can't I?
Well, actually, I think he was only. This is probably only his like 7th or 8th year in comics. I think he broke in maybe. Oh, maybe this is a decade in. He probably broke in like '76.
hmm.
So, but
That's
yeah, I mean
wait,
that's would yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Would you call that a veteran? You probably.
I would, yeah. Working as like for one of the big two. Yeah, I'd say because you're working because it's not just like he didn't walk onto this book, right? He's doing Daredevil. He's doing um, Doctor Strange, as we saw. He's doing all kinds of different books that require different things. Like he would have been on
And
Fantastic Four, Howard the Duck, all kinds of stuff.
yeah, and like he has enough knowledge of the craft that he was putting those red lines in to talk to the colorists. Like he knew exactly what he was doing, especially because yeah, I think he worked in the production department in the early '80s, as we mentioned earlier. I also want to comment that like the amount of background detail, like there's so much thought being put into this. Like this character here, just how he's like dropping all his cigarettes, and like this character here is we'll see more of in later issues, but he's the clumsy character. He's the one who's like always
The radio guy, yeah.
yeah, just like and so this is like an early bit of characterization there, and yeah, just all throughout you get subtle background details that you only really notice. I mean, you probably only really notice on the second reading. And all these characters just have so much personality.
Hmm.
Like this face and just how like something we should establish is that Ed Marks is not into flying. Like he gets he
Yeah,
gets a little not seasick. What do you call it? Like
airsick.
air sick. Because yeah, like when we're first introduced to him, his mom is basically saying, "Don't forget the Dramamine," and
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the way the stewardess is checking in on him, and he says he'll be okay, and that becomes a recurring thing with him. Is he's got to get over this because he's in the shit now, right?
yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
tear ass around Vietnam in a helicopter all the time.
And you get so many interesting little details in this that you like a movie is 2 hours in and out. You don't get enough time for like a lot of the minutia. like for example, this where they're watching a movie and there's explosions going on, and Ed Marks gets a little worried about the explosions, and they basically say, no, they're not going to hit us because then they won't be able to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other characters can tell. Oh no, the how as far like the way it sounds to them, they can tell how far they are away and what they're trying to do and where they can go up to. It gives a great bit of quick characterization to all of the characters who have been there for a while.
Yeah, and how about this coloring? I love the
Yeah,
That's
the last four panels is my favorite.
reminds me of Apocalypse Now when they it's towards the end where it's nothing but flares going off and it's like who's in charge here? You are.
yeah, such a great scene. But yeah, that was the first issue, the introduction of Ed Marks to dive into the second issue. This is interesting because the this cover is a panel. I guess they
Mhm.
didn't have time for a cover, so yeah, I don't know what the story is, but it's basically that scene right there blown up. But
Is there's additions to it though, I want to say.
I looked and I don't think there is. Uh,
No?
It's a
I thought
full on paste up.
yeah, I mean it is just completely blown up,
I guess
and
they add
I guess
some
they did it.
glass, but yeah. Okay.
Actually, yeah, the grass. What? Yeah, there's no grass there. Yeah, like, and the grass does not look very impressive. It looks kind of slack.
No. No,
Um,
yeah, it does feel like somebody said, I don't know, do something with it. Come on.
yeah, I wonder what the story behind that is. So, so yeah, I love this page. You get like the silent calm,
Mm.
right, before the storm, and uh, Michael Golden has such an understanding of these guns as physical objects, uh, to the point where you can see how someone is resting on a gun and how someone is holding a gun while they sleep. And even like this hand right here is, I mean, I don't know if I'd be able to find reference for something like that. Like, that is so specific.
Mm.
And yeah, it's just so impressive.
Well,
His understanding of these things as physical objects.
Vietnam was one of the most documented wars. The U.S. government really learned their lesson with this because they kept allowing journalists, their own and outside journalists, to come in and document it. And that's one of the reasons there was such a backlash against it because there was a lot of here's what we've done, here's what's happened to our soldiers, here's how
Oh,
they behave. So there is a lot of photojournalism associated with the Vietnam War that they would really curtail going forward.
so I imagine like it would be pretty easy to go to a bookstore at that time and find several photography books on the war.
I would think so, yeah. Like, and let's not forget magazines as well, because we
Right.
don't live in a time really of abundance of magazines. But in the '80s, like, there's a magazine for everything twice over. So um, you could easily find back issues of stuff of photojournalistic magazines and books and all kinds of stuff that um, you wouldn't be able to find, for instance, of Afghanistan.
Yeah. So I love the coloring here. I love
Yeah.
the mood
Mhm.
that it gives off, and it works in both. Like it works. You can tell it's nighttime just because of how much blacks are on the page and the stark lighting. But yeah, and I should say that Michael Golden only colored the first issue, so Phil Felix was the letterer and the colorist of I think the rest of the issues going forward. But yeah, you can see here, like this page is not the detail that we're used to on that first issue, and deadline pressures uh,
Yeah.
are probably mounting, and you have to adjust. But I mean, yeah, it's kind of shocking how like this looks like something out of the first issue, and then this looks more like what we're going to see more of going forward.
Hmm.
But apparently, Michael Golden was pretty late handing this stuff in, and then Armando Gil was trying to make Michael Golden happy and just trying to do a great job, and so he was late, and
Mm,
yeah, it's tough. It's this is an assembly line. You got to get stuff done. The next issue has to come out on time,
yeah.
and I think the action reads a lot better in this issue. What do you guys think?
It's a lot clearer, yeah.
And I mean,
Uh,
I think the action was very clear in the previous issue. I just think it like you just stop and admire the detail so much. Whereas here, you can kind of like go through the
you
page.
navigate it quickly. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
guess I guess what I mean is I think when it comes to his use of textures, I think he's a lot better at delineating something like the foliage of the jungle versus a uniform as he goes on. So a figure is pulled forward more easily by your eye because there's not as much
yeah,
it's not, there's not as much similar detailing or texturing on them. So what you get is, oh, I see where the figure and the environment stop
yeah.
and end.
Just less detail on the environment here. Whereas like in this first issue, it's like there's just so much going on.
Yeah, like that opening scene in issue 2 with the jungle at night. What I really like about it is that they blend in and out of the shadow, but that really works for the stillness of the scene.
Yes, yeah, and that goes to
Mm.
my point of like less detail for action scenes,
Mhm.
and this is like you do want people to linger. This is a quiet moment, and everybody's just waiting, and so more detail. Like I just stop and linger on the page, but then as soon as the action shows up, the detail gets kind of stripped away, and yeah, I mean this is actually this second issue is a perfect test case for what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like a lot of this judgment is towards the black and white, um, which
Well,
the color adds to the storytelling quite a bit. So
my overall opinion for the record is between the black and white and the color, like
I was going to ask you
if you
that.
go
Yeah.
black and white, huh?
I was going to ask you that.
Sorry.
Like, which did you prefer?
Yeah, but overall, I'm just like I think the black and white loses nothing without the color, but the color is also, I think a lot of choices went into that makes it unique in its own too. So like I don't really have a preference either which way. I mean, I think it works well both ways.
Yeah, I mean they're different reading experiences. I think. Well, what about you, Taylor? Which like if you were to choose one to read or to recommend to somebody, which would you recommend?
Oh, I do. I think I'm with Colin on this. The color as well, just because I think it does. It's the full experience of a comic, but personally, the when it comes to seeing Michael Golden art, I think the black and white is where it's at, just because this is what he wanted, right?
Yeah, I mean, from an academic standpoint, like I own both black and white
Right.
and color, so I have no preference when I'm reading it. Um, it's more convenient to read the color because it's smaller.
Mm,
But that overall, like if you are an artist that's looking for inspiration or trying to be educated on something, I would definitely gear more towards black and white, just because I think you can learn a lot there in terms of storytelling
Yeah.
and how to using light and blacks and moving the eye along and all that kind of stuff. Go for the black and white, but overall I don't really have a preference in reading it. Like if I have
yeah.
both. And
If you're
the colors
recommending,
on the shelf and the black and whites and the giant artist edition tomb, and once in a while I
yeah,
pull that out, once in a while just pull the trade off the shelf. It doesn't matter to me.
yeah, like if you're recommending, as we all know, Dad's Colin, now that you are one,
Yeah.
you have to read war stories. The color, I think, is where it's at, where it's like, Dad, here you go.
Yeah.
No, I found this interesting. I was wondering if this panel was reused, and yeah, not really. Like there's always different vehicles in there, but it's still got the same familiar like this is where they're based, and so you have this familiar layout, but it's always different when we see it. Like we have different vehicles entering, and these guys are walking in, and I think that's very effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also interesting when you see like the comparison of the lighting. This is a cloudy day, and this one's not.
Mhm.
So yeah, I like the repetitive use of the entrance.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. I wonder now if we go back and look from early to late golden issues, if we see like an expansion of the base or changes to it or something.
Well,
Just
yeah, I'll
just
try
because
and
of the real
keep
time nature of it.
we'll try and keep a lookout on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can move on to the next issue. Well, I should say like this character is the this is Lieutenant Top, I believe. Am I getting
Yeah.
yeah yeah yeah? This is the lieutenant, and the sergeant is criticizing him, and because like yeah, Lieutenant Top is very corrupt.
Yeah, the pseudo antagonist of this series, at least these early issues, it's kind of a push and pull between Top and the environment, like the whole country of Vietnam.
Yeah, and they do touch on like corruption within the military quite a bit throughout this series. Like the way people try to make money
Mhm.
off being there. But yeah, how about here's some example of cartooning where you get like the drunk lines and then you get the stars. That's straight out of like Looney Tunes cartoons, right?
Yeah.
Which is like this imagery exists to sell ideas. This is the like illustration is a language, and so yeah, the stars. Like, what does that mean? That means just like being knocked out or being drunk or kind of fuzziness.
Yeah, it's general discombobulation.
Yes. So
And it works in like any language. Like it's a It's kind of a universal sign, but it translates really well in his style.
Yeah.
this is such an impressive bit of storytelling, and cannot be easy to illustrate. Like uh, it's this idea like that they're driving down a line and that there's the potential of landmines, and the first vehicle misses it, the second vehicle misses it, the third one, and then and you see they're all on a track, and you see this vehicle is not on the same track, and so
Mm.
you see right here it's about to hit, and then it comes up to it and explodes, and it's just clear, concise, very impressive storytelling.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know.
Especially after they've. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, like, do you guys like drawing backgrounds? Do you guys
That's what
like?
I was about to say. Is like there's very little figure work there. It's all just machinery. And it's all perspective, and it's all the grunt work essentially. It's all the second unit stuff. I'll put in quotation second unit
That's a
shots,
good
but
word for it. Yeah.
the line work, the way he translates it is so like the style is just beautiful, man.
Yeah, I mean he's just very
It's
good
done
with
very lovingly
drawing
and painstakingly. You
technical
can tell.
anything. Yeah, yeah, and some artists you can tell that it was not fun for them to draw. I don't know if I can tell if Michael Golden is having the time of his life, but like he's clearly very good at it, and he's not skimping out on any detail or information. He's just putting his all into it. So
But
it can't have been painful for him.
it's funny you say that because there are like artists who look back on certain works with disdain just because it was so hard, or they clash creatively with their the writer or whatever the case may be. Like uh, how Big Numbers fell apart and stuff, and how that was a crazy thing, but it's such a beautiful work. Just those two issues, right? Like it's funny how that happens.
Yeah, and oftentimes when you're working on something, you can mix up your emotional state while working on it with the actual product. And I've had that where I like, you might be proud of it, but you can't help but think of what you were going through while working on it.
Yeah,
So
it's like listening to old songs.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this is very cool where you see just like what the vehicles are doing to the environment, and you see all the tracks left.
Yeah, there's a real feel of churning throughout this book. Just like Earth, people, cities, just everything's just it's just getting eaten up and spat out throughout all of this. There's a very visceral feel of we shouldn't be here, this shouldn't be happening, this sucks.
Yeah,
Even when characters, because there are some that um, especially like Marx seems to be going into this, at least at the beginning, as like, yep, I'm doing my duty. And you get other characters like, who gives a shit about any of this? This is pointless. But the book seems to have a very, or editorial, I guess, has a very clear through line of things are just getting destroyed everywhere.
Yeah,
yeah,
like as beautiful as the art is, like some of my favorite stuff story wise though is seeing them like go for R&R, like when they take a
Yeah.
trip down to the city and
yeah.
treat
I think
themselves and all that stuff. Like that's
that'll
the kind of
be
stuff sticks with me.
is that issue 3 or 4? Let's see. No, that'll be let's see.
I don't know which one it was, but it happens over in the overall arcs at some point, right?
Yeah, it happens several times, right? I know there's
Yeah,
an early one with the hotel.
like a
Yes, yes,
X-Men
it is.
baseball issue.
Oh yeah.
Hey, we should do it. We should do one on all the baseball issues of the X-Men, the
We
original
should,
Uncanny
yeah.
X-Men.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, nice that you bring that up because that is the very next issue, Colin. Um,
Right on.
3 days pass. So again, yeah, we
Three
get.
months.
Oh, look at this! It's expanding.
Okay, so it is,
Hmm.
yeah.
Whoops.
Something has happened and they are, and like the Army Corps of Engineers has decided, no, you need a lot more sandbags than that. That's not going to hold.
No.
Yeah, so that's very cool to see that it's or I don't know, or maybe there's less room on the top. It's
There's something going on there, though. There's like, yeah,
yeah, there's more. Yeah, there's more on the roof there. So
yeah.
yeah, just interesting that you can follow this and see the changing environment. Very cool. And that's another thing is like in comics, I think we're trained to think of detail as like lines on a page, but there's also the other way of detail, which is just like information. Like you can have very detailed information that doesn't necessarily have like a lot of lines on the page. And yeah, he's very detail oriented with the information he's imparting.
Which this series really relies on, too, because of its stated goal of each issue is a month. You need to be able to quickly and concisely communicate that this is a different month. Things are changing. You didn't see it happen necessarily, but this is new, or somebody's gone, or we're building new things, or old things are destroyed.
Yeah, and I yeah I should comment that like the page turns are ruined in the magazine oftentimes, and to some extent like the color and page turns are kind of like a big part of it. Like when, like for instance, if you turn the page and there's an explosion, if that had been on the previous page, you would see the explosion ahead of time just because the color is popping out at you. But in black and white, it's probably less important, although it still is important because right here you have this moment, and then page turn, big splash page. Like this is supposed to like hit you like, oh, we're going to Saigon, we're going on leave. Whereas right here, I don't know, like you could turn the page here and then immediately see
Yeah,
the important thing. So this is why page turns are important.
I agree.
Mm.
More bubble yum ads are required in these magazines.
Well, and that's the challenge with when you're doing an independent comic and you have no advertisements, is you constantly have to think about the page turns. Uh, for issue 5 of Assorted Crisis Events, I think I had been done with it for a good like month and a half, and then I went to go reread it, and I like went over to Dennis frantically saying like, we screwed up, like because I had added a page while working on issue
Mm.
5, and then I didn't realize that had screwed up a bunch of the page turns. So like a month and a half later, I found a solution and added another page just to fix those page
You
turns.
drew a whole new page just to fix that?
Yeah, that page turn was very important.
That's the kind of dedication you will
Yeah.
find, watchers, in assorted crisis events. So go pick it up now.
So
when
then how are you,
when when
sorry, off topic though, how are you going to make up for that with the page count then?
oh, it's image. In image, you hand in 40 pages, and they say, well, okay, it's 40 pages, good to go. Like you can do whatever you want on image comics, but you
So
can't.
it was 41 pages in this case, right?
Um, wait, what do you mean?
The story, that's what I'm saying, is how do you make it work in the story then when printing it, then how are you going to account for that extra page?
Oh well, yeah. So for issue 5, it was like 28 pages, and now it's like 30 pages.
29? Mm.
Well, so when I was working on the issue, I added a page, and that screwed everything up. And then yeah, so I had to add another page just to
Mm.
because like Dennis is he's a professional, and he does think about page turns. And so yeah, just that's the thing. If you add a page, you're gonna screw things up. But I
That's
found that a
dedication.
lot reading the Nam, where you would get crazy page turns, and it'll probably show up a lot in this issue actually. Page turns that are ruined by the magazine because yeah, there's no advertisements here, and it right away it sets things off balance because it has this one introductory page, which a regular comic doesn't generally have.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Because if you're not starting on right hand is odd. Yeah, then it would screw up the whole flow of it as it was originally designed.
So when you're drawing a jungle scene, you don't have to worry about buildings and a lot of like you could kind of draw bushes instead of a lot of people, and you don't have to worry about the perspective of bushes. So those first 2 issues, although challenging because of all the vehicles and everything, um, they at least didn't have all these added challenges of a city. But yeah, this issue, 3 issues in, it's like, okay, now you have to draw a city
Yeah.
and people, a very crowded city with just a lot going on. And it's just so impressive that he's doing this amount of detailed work on a monthly comic. But again, this is not sustainable. It catches up to you.
And the currently named Ho Chi Minh City is like Saigon. Apparently they're interchangeable. Um, like it is a distinctive city too, right? Like it has
Yeah,
a deep French colonial past. So there are a lot of
it's like
French.
fusion,
Hmm? Yeah,
fusion, right?
yeah, like the architecture and materials. The architecture of France meets the materials of shipping and the local area. So it has a very distinct look to it, especially during this time. I would understand if it looked different now, just because of the 50 years. But at the time, Saigon has like buildings are distinct looking.
Look at the coloring on this. That's very cool. I love that. on the
Oh,
bottom.
dropping out all the shadows. Yeah, that is very cool.
Yeah, like Michael Golden was thinking about the color
Yeah,
in that while inking that, even though he's not the actual colorist.
I'd love to find out what that movie is.
Now here's another page turn where you have an explosion in the movie theater, and yeah, right here, like if you are reading it a certain way and you turn the page, you might see that first accidentally, and so that
Yeah,
ruins your experience while reading this page. So yeah, page turns are important, and this also goes to show that like whoever's at Marvel in the production department, they are thinking in terms of page turns. They are strategically putting advertisements here because they know, and here because they know that there's a moment coming up there. So this stuff isn't random. This stuff wasn't accidental. There was thought put into that.
yeah. Sometimes you'll run into in old issues like those double page Mile High comic spreads advertisements, and then
Yeah.
turn the page to another set of advertisements just because, like, well, we need to maintain this page turn, or we need to maintain this storytelling continuity.
Yeah, actually, I remember Bendis talking in an interview. There's a reason why he scripts in double page spreads because
Uh,
he doesn't want the production department controlling the page turns. He wants to control them. And so a lot of the double page spreads were chosen to control page turns,
yeah,
which is an interesting part of the process that you
yeah.
don't really think about a lot when you're reading this stuff. You just sort of like read it and go with the flow, and it just sort of happens. So yeah, this was one eventful day going into town. I think
Yeah.
he gets robbed, and yeah, he gets tricked by this woman, I guess. And then they go to a hotel, and then the hotel explodes. Man, this dream page is very cool.
Yeah, he's got a very specific idea in mind, eh? When it comes
Yeah,
to uh, how he wants dreams and or hallucinations to be portrayed.
Yeah.
and I love the colors. And this is the
Mhm.
thing that like there's a digital version of this, and the colors are way too bright. They're
Mm,
garish.
yeah.
It just looks really nice on the newsprint.
Ah, and look at that hotel, right? The
Yeah,
exploded hotel, but there's the explosion, but then there's everything under it. Like it, you have to get the windows and the sconces or whatever. The brickwork. I don't know architectural terms, but he's doing all of that.
yeah, yeah. And then you see the building caving in on him, and then his friend gets trapped. And they got to save him. But yeah, this was one eventful experience. Um, a lot of this apparently, most of the stories in the first 13 issues were based off incidents which had actually happened to Murray and a lot of his acquaintances during the war. So
Woof.
it this reads to me like a mashup of several different incidents that happened, but
Yeah, there was the
it paints
day.
quite the picture of what life was like when you went into town as a GI, right?
Yeah, there was
Mm.
one day that somebody got rolled for their wallet, and then another R&R day where the hotel exploded, and
Yeah,
they're just like, let's put them together.
yeah. Because if every day had this amount of incidents happening, you'd probably have less people going into town. There were probably some like
But that's where women are, so you gotta.
yeah, and
Yeah.
another thing is like Michael Golden doesn't have an opportunity to draw a lot of women in this series,
That's
so
true.
it's always fun when he does get a chance to draw.
And he does a good job of delineating the different women as well, like different hairdos,
Yeah,
different facial designs, um, different dresses. It's all he's putting a lot of thought into. These are all different characters, so they need to look different.
yeah, clearly like so much research done, and yeah, so Armando Gil did the first three issues, and from what I had heard, he was falling behind on deadlines because I think he just wanted to stay true to the line work. And so I think he was let go, and they brought in Pepe Moreno for one issue, and then he's only for the one.
Taylor, now I see it.
Yes.
Donovan, the bounty
Yeah.
hunter,
Yeah.
or mercenary.
So I think these new inkers were more deadline focused and did not stay true to a lot of the detail that Michael Golden put in. Like, clearly still very detailed, but apparently Michael Golden has publicly complained about.
Yeah. I can't quite put
a
my
lot of his
finger
work
on
not going
why.
up.
But in these later issues, there are some times where I'm like, oh, you didn't quite hit it there.
Well, and to be fair, like, just a lot of these issues, like it appears that Michael Golden just is moving faster as well.
Well, it's too
Like, it's
bad
such a
that
stark contrast with issue 1.
the inker gets thrown under the bus for that, because it's like, that's not his issue. He can only produce what he can produce when he has the boards with him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a history of inkers who just erase stuff just to hand it in on time, right?
Yeah, we don't like that.
So, as an editor, you do what you got to do. Like, you got to get these pages done, and so get one of those inkers that starts erasing stuff, and then we'll get the issue on time. Which I'm not accusing Moreno or anybody else of doing that, but that is that is the thought process that inkers go, or that editors go through.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure he was probably taken off this and put onto, like, you're on Spider-Man now, or Nova, or whatever.
So yeah, this is the photo op issue where First Sergeant Top decides to go into battle specifically with a photographer so that he
a guy who's been writing a desk. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a funny thing where, they basically say intelligence says that, it'll be bad where we're going, and they basically say, well, intelligence is wrong all the time, so we're not worried. And so that's why he goes out. And I guess this was one of the few times where intelligence got things correct, because things go bad, which is a funny detail. And right here you get a moment where, so this is issue 4, and you get a moment here where I think Ed says that he's been, where is it? I've been here more than 3 months. So
Right.
People are still calling him green, and he's basically right here. He's getting annoyed. He's like, I'm not green anymore. Been here more than 3 months.
And
he's still on probation.
But he is climbing into that helicopter, and you don't see him, like, gulping his way through it.
Yeah,
that's true.
And but it'll still be referenced, like, in a future issue. He's basically saying, I gotta get over this. I just have to. But I mean, that's clearly a moment where he's trying to look tough, which is a great bit of acting going on there. This is where his friend Rob takes more of a center stage, I guess, because he's usually on desk duty, and this is where Ed and Rob become closer friends. This issue. Yeah,
this is the sort of thing that, like you said, Colin, this would make a great TV show, and this is the sort of thing, like, the episodes where the helicopters went down and you didn't know who was gonna make it out.
Now, there was a lot said in Vietnam about napalm. It's like liquid fire, and
it's like it's a gasoline jelly, so it would stick to things. Once it was set on fire, you couldn't stop, drop, and roll it or anything. You would have to. It's like you have to physically remove it, and even then, it's the fumes that get you. So it's super difficult to not die from.
Yeah, and, like, I mean, Michael Golden to not die from. Michael Golden really captures the spectacle of it, where they're just
Mhm.
saying, "My God in heaven," as they're watching from afar what napalm can do to a village. So
Yeah, between it and Agent Orange, which was a defoliant, I think just un unparalleled to this time destructive abilities of what is a very, from all appearances, a very lush country, right? This is a tropical nation of just green as far as you can see, and then a couple of planes just obliterate that.
yeah, they just take out an entire village here, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, lots of great expressions here. Is he's getting angry at the sergeant.
Oh yeah, because they're like leaving somebody behind.
Well, yeah, they're leaving Marks and Rob behind,
Yeah.
and so this is where Ed and Mark, because Ed and Rob, because they're left behind, and they bond a little, and then they become like pretty close friends,
Mm-hmm.
and they also allude to like they allude to Lieutenant Top's past, and basically say this corrupt guy, he's got an origin story, and
Yeah, they try to humanize him a bit there.
Yeah, which is not the sort of thing that you would see. I don't think you would see that much in a Marvel comic at this point. Like nowadays, yes. Why is a villain a villain? Here's why. But
Mm.
it's still the 80s where why are you a villain? Because I like it.
Because the pay's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
now I like how on model Michael Golden is frequently. Like he's Ed Mark says like his eyes are always too close together. Like he's,
Mm-hmm.
which I guess like gives him a sort of naivete. It gives off a, like they keep calling him Altar Boy, and I don't know. Yeah, he
Yeah.
looks like
He
a.
keeps reminding me of Todd McFarlane's Peter Parker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a real I don't know what like
Hayseed kind of.
Kind of like an Archie, every time I
yeah.
look at McFarlane's Peter Parker, it's Archie to me in a way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like a
Yeah, it's like
bushy
the
top.
yeah. It's like the lack of lines on his face, the you can see his upper lip, which
Hmm.
is a classic this guy's still young um coding thing, and he just looks like a bumpkin, I guess, but
Yeah, like a hayseed.
yeah.
Yeah.
How about this panel? This panel is amazing.
Yeah.
The
Look at
grenade
that.
throwing
Yeah.
Yeah.
and just the like panic. Like this is not like a cool guy action movie like Schwarzenegger throwing a grenade in war. This is like a panicked kind of throwing because you're just about to die,
Yeah.
and then just spraying gunfire.
The first panel on that page I really like too, that the only detail in the field you get is where they've been.
Yeah.
It's the rest is left blank, as though it's like it's this untouched sea of green that has been disturbed by their presence.
Yeah, great use of negative space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a very, very impressive page overall. So yeah, let's see. There's a, what is the comics code rule on blood? Because we get some red blood there.
Yeah, it has to be black is the rule.
Well, I mean, I guess
Is
the
that
comics
what it
code was
is?
always in flux. Like, I guess at one point it had to be black, and then by this point you could have a little bit of red, but there's probably just sort of like a very limited amount. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, isn't this around the time that Peter Parker like nearly beats somebody to death as Spider-Man? Like, and all the heroes realize, oh, he's a lot stronger than we thought.
Oh, well, yeah. What run was that?
The I want to say it's the Ross Andrew run.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the.
But you're
Yeah,
right.
don't
It was
recollect it.
But you're right. It was constantly in flux, right? You would somebody would try to challenge it. We saw that in the Dracula uh, episode. Watch it now, where if you just made the right kind of argument, they kind of couldn't push back on it.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if you know a war comic of some kind said, well, this is an actual war that we're depicting, and altering history is, that's an inappropriate thing to do, especially when our audience is kids. We should stay true to it and then have them go, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Blood is red. Portray it as such.
Mm.
Yeah, and here we get a really dark issue. This issue actually pushes the. Well, I don't think it pushes the boundaries on the comics code, but it tries to display really dark imagery as they come across this stuff within the bounds of the comics code.
It's
Um,
doing this Spielberg thing where, like, what you're
react-
seeing people react to
yeah,
is really what's informing what is being depicted.
yeah, right here, where yeah, they come across a slaughter of some kind.
Yeah.
Jeez, where is this?
Yeah, the VC strung everybody up or something.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, it wasn't entirely clear. Like, a lot of the stories we hear from Vietnam are about like the atrocities that you know the U.S. might have perpetrated. So I was wondering if it was touching on that, but yeah, I guess not. I guess this was the VC going after their own people.
Well, so this is a the Vietnam War is a civil war that two superpowers have used as a proxy war. Like the civil war in Vietnam is going on in the late 50s, and it's only in the early 60s that the Soviets and the Americans get involved. So there's a lot of there's a lot more going on in North versus South, and VC versus the Army versus the Army of the North versus and Army of the South. So I think it might be too much for the book to actually explain.
Well, and yeah, there's a specific letter that criticizes this comic, basically saying it's you're not covering any of the atrocities that the soldiers perpetrated. Like there were stories of soldiers killing their own sergeants, and you know, U.S. soldiers killing villagers, and like a lot of bad stuff. And you're not showing any of this. And um, whoever was writing the replies on the letter page, it might have been Larry Hama. He was basically saying that like that's what you read in the news, and that stuff did happen, but also there was just regular days where
Yeah.
you were just going into the into the jungle to fight, and you had the off hours and everything, and that's what this comic is trying to portray, and that they might get to that stuff eventually, but just because you read something in the news doesn't mean that was the everyday. And so it is interesting because like there are in the letter pages there were lots of criticisms, and they replied to them, and you know uh, some of them are good arguments, and what it comes down to is your opinion, right? They made arguments, and you can decide on your own.
Well, and ultimately, the guys that were actually there, they're not experts on what happened, but neither is the audience, right? But at
Or
least
the
the
reporters.
yeah, but at least the writers of this book could say, well, if I saw something like that, I would put it in, but that
Mm.
just didn't come into my field of vision for whatever reason, right? Because the thing is that in they spent a lot of money trying to make these guys as comfortable as possible at base. There's a limit to what you can do with sandbags, barbed wire, and helicopters, but like they're well aware these guys don't really want to be here, right? They're drafted
Mm.
or they sign up just to get it out of the way. Like this isn't punching Hitler and saving the world. This is what are we doing here again? What's going on?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess. A lot of guys who just couldn't get into school or couldn't lie their way out of it. So it's you get a wide range of guys that were there.
Yeah, it was a giant mess.
Yeah.
But
And as a preview for the piece I did for this episode, man, it is difficult to find like guys in formation, guys holding guns
Yeah.
correctly. Like it's real lackadaisical when you get like
You need to go out and get
uh
some of those war photography books.
yeah, well, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of stuff out there, and a lot of it was just like guys with their guns just kind of slung over their shoulder, just like, yeah, whatever. Who gives a shit?
I wanted to point this out that like I think this is called a moire pattern when you have
Yeah,
the screen tone down, and is that the terminology where the screen tone is not reproducing well? It's looking like odd.
I want to say it has to do with like two different patterns have been overlaid and are
Okay,
creating a weird pattern.
so
Mm.
that's a moire pattern. What is people in the comment section? Please let us know. Like, what is it when the screen tone isn't showing up properly and it's creating this odd
Yeah.
pattern? When it's blown up to this size, it looks good. But for some reason, I mean, is it because the color is interacting with it? No, that can't be. I don't know.
Well, but the color is also being done through Bende dots. So
Uh oh, is it? I mean,
isn't all
I
the
think
color like they're all dots?
yeah, I thought it was for a while and then it might have changed, but yeah, no, you're right. It probably was still going on at this point. Ben-Day dots. Just so minuscule that you can't even
Yeah.
tell.
But like we say, if you know, let us know in the comments.
I also want to comment here that like this is the perfect way to do a 9-panel grid where there's a clear page design in mind where like you see this pattern where every second panel is what they're seeing and then the X is all their face reactions. Um,
Yeah.
uh, a lot of people think that like, well, I don't know a lot of people, but like, 9-panel grids aren't just, just put images in there and tell a story. Uh, the best use of 9-panel grids is creating a good page design and creating a story flow where it's designed specifically for 9-panel grids, and this is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, maybe just one more thing, and then we can move on to the next issue. I found that sometimes his stuff, Michael Gold stuff, is like so detailed that you can't even tell. Like, and when it's reproduced small, you can't tell much of what's going on because right here this like we're in one scene and then it goes back. Oh, I should set this up better. Like, there's the radio guy is clumsy and he keeps falling into the water. And then the radio equipment gets ruined. And then, I mean, this is a bit of comedy. We're in this scene and then we come back and they're basically saying, you did it again. And actually, I couldn't tell that he was in a blanket and it wasn't entirely clear that like what had happened again. But like here, it's a lot more clear.
Oh,
Here, he's
okay.
Mhm.
so, that's a situation where either the coloring isn't helping or the image is just way too small. But yeah, it is a
Yeah.
funny bit of character quirk where like each character gets their own thing. And like, look at this face. He's like ashamed that he's just
Ugh.
see.
I love the detail of everybody knows he's clumsy. They still give him the most valuable piece of equipment.
Yes, you gotta love this like shaky panel where like everything is steady, and then when he's falling, it's a
Oh yeah, that's a good bit of
good
of
bit of
uh, visual storytelling.
So yeah, this issue ends with Lieutenant Top being ousted, I guess. But yeah, we can move on to. Oh yeah, I guess this is great because what was his name again, Taylor?
Albergo.
Albergo. Albergo returns from being away, and you look at this and you just love the character, right?
Yeah.
Just fall in love with this character. And when you watch a war movie, and they make someone extra lovable, what do you think is happening?
But he's gonna get got.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is great, where he's just like, "You miss me? I have so much to tell you," and like we as the readers don't get to find out what he went through, but you can just see from the visuals that he had a fun, crazy time. Okay, so this issue, Michael Golden did breakdowns, and which
Mm.
essentially I think he just did thumbnails, and they're all 6 grid, which is not normally how Michael Golden draws. Like, he does a fair amount of 6 grids, I guess, but not all
But
throughout.
you're right. It's not.
Whereas this entire thing, with
Mm.
the occasional,
Who
and
was the artist on it?
yeah, who was the artist? John Beatty is listed as inker, so it's interesting. Breakdowns by Michael Golden and then inker, but the inker is doing like finishes basically, and you can
Yeah.
tell. Um, I found this issue confusing. Um,
Mm.
it's less confusing in color because there were a couple moments where there were close-ups of faces where I couldn't tell who was who.
I think this is the one where I thought, oh, really? Something's going on here because it is just kind of it's a boring setup and the faces are a little even when they're on model they're still kind of I don't know
Yeah,
they look like they're out of a early Mad magazine or something
yeah, it's yeah. This was not a
like
good
that
issue.
actually that one go back a page the top
Yeah,
yeah like that feels very Kurtzman-esque but still not hitting Harvey Kurtzman.
yeah. I mean, it's not an enviable task to be given like
No.
thumbnails and then to ink over the thumbnails. So, uh, yeah, I mean, this wasn't the best issue. But you do that detailed work, you're going to fall behind, and so clearly Michael Golden fell behind, and then we get yeah. I guess the next issue was I guess Michael Golden only did the intro pages, or the
Yeah,
first
it's
and
like the
last.
first and the last, I want to say.
Yeah, and Wayne Van Zant did the main story, which is just this Vietnamese guy telling his story. He's working with the U.S. and he tells the story of how he came about working with the U.S. So Wayne Van Zant actually takes over for Michael Golden after issue 13,
Mm.
and yeah, I mean it's good work, but we're here to talk about the Michael Golden stuff. So from here, we will jump to issue 8, which is,
Oh, the Tunnel Rat issue.
yeah. Now, this is interesting because I mentioned earlier that the fifth to the first only had 2 stories, but right here at the back, like, I think issue 8 is only 14 pages. The main
Yeah.
story is only 14 pages, and then we get another fifth to the first story, and I don't know what is going on here, but this looks like the same detail as those other fifth to the first issues. So I think that this was meant to be in a Savage Tales issue, but Savage Tales got canceled,
And
and
it's a bit
they
yeah, there's like you can kind of make it work in your brain as and now here's a related story, but
because it's the same character. The tunnel rat dude is
yeah.
in both stories, but this
But it's just such
story,
a jump. Yeah.
yeah, I guess this story is the story of how he got kicked out of like he goes through some things, and he gets a little traumatized. So this is before he gets traumatized, I guess. So it's told in the correct order, where the
Mhm.
main story of issue 8. This I guess this issue feels like Doug Murray was trying to let Michael Golden catch up, and so we came up with this story where it's 14 pages, and then we can use that inventory story and like unite them somehow. At least that's what it feels like to me, but I don't know the actual story. Um,
Right.
but yeah, the tunnel rat dude is. I guess this is his job, and I think he's a short dude, and so that's who you want to go into
Yeah.
these tunnels.
Yeah, the little guys were sent down.
And they ask for a volunteer to go down with him, and nobody in their right mind would go down with him, right? But This is a testament to how far Ed Marks has come because, geez, where is this? Yeah, Ed Marks volunteers. He basically like we get this sarcasm panel here. It was like, yeah, a volunteer, sure, and then Ed Marks basically says, no, I'll do it. So yeah, I mean, this is 8 months into Ed Marks' story, and he's become quite the brave character.
Or, and I also read it as like, but he's still kind of not foolhardy, but he's, I don't know, like what little I know of these tunnels, it's the worst job they have,
Oh yeah,
right? Like you are sent with a
Yeah.
flashlight and a handgun, and that's it. Good luck. Not die. And it's like the death rate is huge for these guys.
It's called. I mean, in I say crisis management. His crisis management skills have gone way up. Like
That's a good way of
work in
putting it. Yeah.
construction too. Like I've been underground, and it's just the first couple times it's pretty scary, but then after a while you just know what you're in for, sort of thing. And you just kind of do it for the greater good. Like you just take one for the team because you have to. Yeah, and that coupled with working long hours in high risk environments and that sort of thing, like it just kind of your coping mechanisms are just way more advanced after some time, right? They're stronger at least. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, especially because he's sent down with somebody who has clearly been doing this for a while.
yeah. I mean, he's an expert.
right.
He's giving him advice. He's telling him, they hide snakes in this, so watch out for that. And he's telling him to point his gun in a very specific way and point the light in a very specific way. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting because this is just a very detailed examination of life as a soldier in Vietnam, and we get like all aspects of it. So yeah, it's just very interesting. You get to issue 8, and you get to see this particular aspect, and yeah, they do go into because it's interesting. The Nam is there's the only captions you get are just like later, like you don't get
Mm,
internal monologues or like
yeah.
exposition. You just get people talking to other people like anybody would. You don't get awkward exposition. Whereas the fifth to the first was prose, essentially. You get very detailed sort of info dump, a little bit info dump, I guess, explanations of what it's like to be a tunnel rat and what somebody goes through.
It kind of remind me
Hmm.
of old EC books where they would
Oh
have
yeah,
huge chunks of prose.
yeah. There are two different kinds of ways of doing a comic, which
Mm,
I mean, it's interesting. Like this Michael Golden stuff, where it is, chunks of prose. It's more illustrative, I guess, and it relies more on like silent moments where you read it and then you get to experience what Frank the Tunnel Rat goes through.
that's a great panel of
Oh yeah,
the rats coming at him, and from
Yeah.
their point of view.
and you can see why he gets traumatized when it turns into that when they ask him to go back in,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah,
also
because
has
it's
another little bit of a twist. And yeah, I
uh,
mean, yeah, I don't. I mean, we're spoiling everything, but yeah, it's a great twist, and you can see why Larry Hama read the prose and just fell in love with this stuff and thought, like, yeah, I want to get this illustrated and put it in Savage Tales because this is, a great bit of. I don't know how you describe it, but it's horrifying.
yeah, yeah. He's bringing the emotionality that you don't get in a prose story into the comic form, right? Like it's you see the fear, the look of fear on his face, the change that he's undergone.
Yeah, very very well done.
Hmm.
Now this is interesting because this is the Nam magazine issue 4, and it's coming out at around the same time as the Nam, the newsprint issues, issue 24. This looks like a Sergeant Rock comic. This does not look
That
like
does, yeah.
this looks like I don't know. Not this looks like maybe it's dismissive to say, but your typical war comic. Whereas the Nam is not that. The Nam doesn't have like leading man archetypes, heroically leading the way. You get like
Well,
country bumpkin Ed Marks.
yeah, it's the Tet. Well, that specifically is the Tet Offensive, which was like the who is it? Is it the VC? No, it's the North Vietnam People's Army, and they
They
just
planned it
go,
for like 6 months or something, and
yeah, and they just
Yeah.
go all out all at once. It's absolutely brutal and devastating, but it's not caught up to where Marx is yet.
Right.
It's 68, but I think Marx is in like mid 67, so he's got almost a year to go before the Tet Offensive happens. But I could see like that is it's devastating to the Americans, so I could see it being framed as more heroic.
yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. There was a different artist working on it than Michael Golden, and I think Michael Golden had such a big impact on how these issues are felt, and a lot of that has to do with the cartooning. So
What do you think? Like they took some pretty smart liberties with the logo on the magazine edition. They kind of stripped it. They stripped the borders and they changed
What do
the
you mean?
colors around. Like it's just they made it unique by making it look the same. No, I don't know how else to verbalize that.
Yeah, they kind of. Oh, you mean like they adapted it to the magazine?
Well, it's more of a stamp on the
Oh,
color
yeah,
editions, right? It's more of a stamp look, whereas on the magazine editions, it's more stripped.
yeah,
It's just text.
yeah. Good point. Yeah, it's
I don't know which one I like more.
neither do I.
you got more texture on here, and this is a clear gradient. So yeah, it depends on how much you like texture. I do like texture more than like a
Yeah,
clear gradient, but I mean I like them. So yeah, issue 9. Yeah, so yeah, I should say John Beatty has been inking these last several issues, and yeah, he was delivering the pages in on time. I think Michael Golden was a little annoyed that a lot of detailing was being left out, but I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know what John Beatty's side of the story is.
John Beatty's side of the story is I got to pay rent.
Yeah, and the editor says hand this in on time.
Yeah,
So yeah, this is issue 9 we're looking at. Yeah, we could gush about every page because these pages are gorgeous.
yeah, yeah. Those faces, man.
And again, like this is not like 6 panel grids, which I guess when he was doing that breakdown issue, he just handed them in as quickly as possible. And man, look at that nose. Yeah, so this is that page I was looking at in the artist edition. And you can see that these were holding lines right here in the actual comic, and they just like when it's black and white, they just took that line and made it literal, made it dark instead of just the color lines. This is another example of the page turn being ruined because very lovable character dies, and yeah, which like I guess it's not completely obvious, but you see the tragic moment where he's like, holding his friend, and
Yeah,
this was done in a very comics code kind of way, I think, because you don't actually see him die. I guess he's with his friend, and then suddenly he's saying Mike, and then you see you know, he's holding a body, but clear he's holding Mike's body.
yeah. It's I really like that it's so unceremonious too. It's just a sniper got him. There's no there's no heroism, there's no stupidity. It's just
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
like
and like, look what the hat says.
what
You
does it
miss
say?
me, Charlie.
Jesus
So
Christ.
that's the tragedy right there. And then you get the letter. So, and that's the thing. Like you fell in love with Albergo. So
Yeah, because he was goofy, but cared about his guys, and it wasn't he was just trying to make the best out of a really bad situation.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, yeah, he was talking about extending for some reason for yeah, but then he
Because a lot of these guys, what do they have to go back to? Like a lot of soldiers, you get out, and it's like, well, I didn't get into college, which is what guys their age would be expected to go to. And I don't really have any other skills other than what the army has just taught me. So why not go like re up, get more money, and then go back?
yeah. Yeah, and I think that that was explained. Actually, it was explained in that issue why you would re up, and I remember reading it, and I had to read it several times, and I still didn't understand it. So, but yeah, so Ed Marks in this issue. This issue is him being depressed that his friend died, and it's I guess it's about him um,
It's a
getting
whole
over
month of
it. I
mourning, right?
guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Like,
this
he's
is
not doing well.
more stuff in Saigon, I guess. And yeah, we get some interesting stuff here where, yeah, this is him in mourning. But yeah, we get stuff where he's witnessing some corruption in the ranks. And yeah, he's just drunk all the time. And this is interesting comics code stuff because, like, Buku Boom Boom Joe is what they say.
Yeah.
And yeah, what could that mean?
Yeah, they're not allowed to tell you these are sex workers, but also we all know that they are.
Well, what do you think the way of explaining Boom Boom is? It is
Oh,
uh,
an exchange of money for services.
no, it's described as a very close form of fraternization. So that's the comics code way of saying sex.
Yeah, I guess the letters column still needs to conform to the comics code.
Yeah, yeah, and that is a really fun aspect of it is the glossary where like every issue you see something new, and every issue you go to the back and find out what it is. Except there was one issue, I think, yeah, issue 11, they printed the wrong one. They printed the previous issue's one, and then there's a letter in issue 13 saying you printed the wrong one, and so in issue 13 they say, okay, well here's the one we missed accidentally, so you go and cross reference because there was a couple of things in I think issue 11 that I didn't fully understand and wasn't explained in the back. But yeah, again, like so this is like another city issue, so a lot of great city shots. Michael Golden is just even when he's like a little more rushed, it's still great stuff. Characters on model, great storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's so good that man, eventually you get to the point, and I think you can hear this in there's a comic book counseling episode with Daniel Warren Johnson talking about one of these issues, and even in that, they eventually run out of ways to say Michael Golden's the best. He's the fucking goat.
Yeah, and honestly, we haven't even talked about helicopters enough. We talked about it a little, but like he is
Yeah, that helicopter
no,
crash in the Savage Tales story
Yeah,
is one of
yeah,
my most favorite sequences he's did.
yeah. Everybody, go and track that artist edition down because yeah, you can experience that helicopter crash in all its glory.
experience this hideous way to die in all of its glory.
Here we get um, yeah. This is I don't see a lot of inking like this in any of the previous issues where it's like a dry brush effect. So I found that interesting, and it works because it's like an action moment where the hair is moving very quickly.
Yeah,
And yeah, you got to appreciate this. Like screen tone, it looks really well in the black and white version, and yeah, it just like doesn't print well here. You have
Hmm.
that like
yeah. You just kind of get like, why is she? But you're right. In the black and white, she pops as
yeah, it really sells the lighting.
yeah, and just like well, but it also ties into her state of like, bitch, you better have my money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that they're skirting the line with this stuff because they did have the sex workers in the comic, which that was a big part of Vietnam, I guess. So they're not shying away from a lot of this stuff. And yeah,
Yeah, the only other sex worker I can think of in comics at this time is Typhoid Mary in the
oh right.
Daredevil book. But even then, I don't know that it's more like referenced as something that she did do before becoming a supervillain.
Uh, Actually, going back to issue 8, there is something I wanted to like. The letter page always has interesting stuff, and in here, they somebody asks, "Are we going to see the fifth of the first people interacting with the people in the Nam?" And yeah, he comments. I'm assuming this is Larry Hama, but Larry Hama comments that boots and straight legs, paratroopers and infantry just don't mix. So that's the difference between those two casts of
Oh,
characters.
interesting.
Is which I guess
Just
the
makes
Nam is infantry and fifth of the first they're paratroopers.
Oh, huh. I thought they were because that I recognize like I've seen that their symbol of the horse head and the diagonal bar, whatever that is. And I had mistaken that for like Army Rangers or like Special Forces or something, but
Yeah,
or cavalry. I don't know.
and I'll say that in there they say there will be the occasional crossover, which I guess the Frank, the Tomarat dude, and in future issues I think some of the fifth of the first people do show up in the Nam. But there's
And with Frank Castle.
yeah, and Frank Castle ends up showing up for like 3 or 4 issues with some great Jorge Zapino covers.
Oh, nice.
We need to cover some Jorge Zapino. That's what we need.
Yeah, we do.
Look at the difference in coloring here, and again we get the color lines that he clearly cut out, but they're made as actual ink lines here.
Hmm.
I prefer the color direct edition.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Like they followed his color guidelines here, and they didn't here. But this cover is interesting because it's supposed to show how far Ed Marks has come. Ed Marks doesn't look like a country bumpkin on this cover, does he?
Nope.
But he still
No,
looks like Ed Marks
looks pretty weathered.
Yeah.
because this is 11 months into his tour.
It's when you lose your sleeves. It's when they take your sleeves away.
Yeah, yeah. I
Your
guess.
training sleeves. Yeah.
Wait, that's just a joke, or
Yes.
it's like I took it as a joke, and then I thought, wait, Taylor knows a lot about this stuff. So yeah.
No, no. You just see like there. It looks like there's a point in soldiers' timelines where they realize nobody's fining me for my battle kit not being up to code or whatever. Right? They all seem to eventually, they write shit on their helmets. They strap shit to themselves that that isn't regulation or whatever. And I think plenty of them kind of get sick of we're in this incredibly humid, hot country all the fucking time.
Hmm.
What do I need sleeves for? I need pants so that I don't get malaria, but sleeves, come on.
So this is the Christmas issue. So Ed Marks showed up in February, I believe, and so he's almost done. This issue looks like Doug Murray was easing up a bit and giving a lot of splash pages. A lot
Yeah.
of so you get a lot of like half splash pages and a lot of like 3 panel pages.
Yeah, it was slowing the storytelling down too, month to month.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and also I think Michael Golden was almost done at this point, but it's just like, hold on. I don't know what the reasoning. I don't know what the story is, but I'd imagine they want him to hold on till they finish Ed Mark's story. But still great stuff. But like, yeah, a lot of 4 panel pages, a lot of splash pages, and it's a big contrast with that that early first issue, and here this is great with the bumbling radio man who
Just can't.
he gets to go home, and even when he's going home, he looks like he can barely keep it going. There's an interesting thing in this issue I remember where they just gave the radio to somebody else because, or was it this issue? Just to give him a break because he's short, I believe. But yeah, so for issue 10, Michael Golden didn't do that issue. That was John Severin. And it is interesting because John Severin still finds a way to use his own style, but he still keeps these characters on model.
Yeah, he's an old school guy too.
He's a vet.
Yeah,
Comics vet.
Yeah, he's Kirby days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember he worked a bit with Alan Moore in the late 90s on some awesome books. And
oh, nice.
I was getting pretty late into his career.
Yeah.
This was already like pretty late in the career. But yeah, this issue I remember thinking was dark. Like Ed Marks was writing to his mother at home describing the war. And so this is a really well written issue where the visuals were contradicting the text, which I think is a great way to involve the reader and to get the reader thinking, because they shoot what looks like a civilian here, and he doesn't exactly say, "Hey, we shot a civilian." He's just doing his job, and I thought this was a very well written issue, and in that it showed a real darkness to what was going on in the war, But yeah, let's skip to. So that was issue 12. I don't have the newsprint of it, and I only have the newsprint of Michael Golden's last issue. I don't have the magazine.
But that's my preferred cover anyway.
This cover's spectacular.
Yeah.
And it's everything. It's the coloring. It's the line work.
The logo, how it's pure white. It really helps condense everything.
Yeah, you're right. The easy choice would be make it yellow so it pops, but man, there's something about the white that works so much better.
Oh, before that, there was a letter here that, like, in this letter, they respond to the criticism of, this is the kiddie version of the war, and that this is where he replies and basically says that, like, this is the everyday. So, I recommend when people read these, read the letter page as well, because it adds quite a bit. But this is Michael Golden's final issue, but he only did breakdowns. Bob Camp did finishes. So, and I think what I had heard was that these were just thumbnails he was handing in, but it still looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
But you're right. You can, there's something.
Yeah. I mean,
not quite.
There is something not quite there with a lot of these faces. So, this is Ed Marks. Ed Marks is short. He's about to go home. And so the NAM is an ongoing series. And so with the main character leaving, you got to introduce the new cast. And so with this issue, we get introduced to all these new guys. One by one, we get to meet the new people.
This really is another aspect of it that reminds me of the Wire, where like characters will just leave for a whole season, or new characters are just brought in, and nope, those are the characters you're following now. Oh, you liked McNulty? Well, too bad. We're going to the public school system now. You won't see him at all.
This is a contrast with the first issue, because now that Ed is meeting the new people, he's saying that he's short.
Yeah.
And I guess they have to figure out on their own what that means. And then there's also the movie. They go to a movie, and one of the new guys is asking about the bombing.
Golly, what a great face.
Yeah. And they're, they don't say the same thing, but about the, they want to watch the movie as well, but they basically say, seems like old times, Ed? So a lot of this is calling back that first issue when Ed showed up. And Um,
And it really is more decompressed though, eh?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think Michael Golden probably had one foot out the door, so I guess they
Yeah.
tried to. If I were to guess, like, I think he was probably done at this point, and so they tried to maybe keep things simple. But yeah, I'm not sure. But this issue also goes to show off that Ed has shed his altar boy status just a bit, and I guess how old is Ed supposed to be? I guess he should
21
be.
or
I guess he's drinking. So in the United States, it's like 21. So um,
Yeah, but
I
he's
think.
drinking in Vietnam.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know what the story behind that is. Like
You
I
got
guess.
money, you can drink, you know?
Well, I think there's hints that he might have been a virgin, and so they get him really drunk and take him to this ville outside of. Yeah, he's drunk, and they all take him outside of this ville, whatever you call it, and
Villa. Yeah,
yeah,
right?
and they give
Yeah.
this. You see this kid and this woman, and then you see the next morning that kid's counting money, and so I guess you're supposed to make your own conclusions. And he doesn't even know how he got there. He's so drunk, but they took his V card. And also, this is nice that you have a montage of the last 13 issues, so you get to see his entire.
Woof. Yeah, it's a lot when you cram it all together.
yeah.
Yeah, but and yeah, and then we get to. I guess this isn't the same shop, but it's that same sign of the outside gate. And let me just grab that first issue here, and yeah, I just want to show that on his way back, we see that first woman, or that woman, the
Yeah,
flight attendant.
the flight attendant.
Mm.
Yeah, which is also right here. And yeah, she asks if she can get anything for him, and he asks for Dramamine, saying, "I have this little problem." So,
Mm.
alluding to that, I guess he still hasn't fully gotten over it, but yeah, I don't know. And also, like, yeah, I guess he's grown his hair out since
He's
the
growing
first.
his hair out. His uniform is looser. He's not like he's got the whole tie on in that first one.
Yeah.
But she's the same.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a
He's more
testament to
weathered.
this woman
Yeah.
who was this flight attendant was in like two panels, but she's recognizable enough that you recognize her in that panel. And yeah, that was Ed Mark's journey with Michael Goldenart, with great Michael Goldenart. So I highly recommend people read the first 13 issues of the series because yeah, it is. I was so impressed by these comics, and pick
Yeah.
them up in either the magazine format or the
The
floppy.
trade paperback is still in print, so you can at least get the trade paperback. It's the color version, and
Although
it
colors,
reprints, the entire 1 to 13 run. So
Hell yeah.
those colors are terrible in the reprint,
the
but
Amazon link is down below.
yeah.
Are they bad reprints
I
color
think the
wise?
colors
Uh,
are too saturated. I think they're just
well, it's
bright.
also glossy stock paper, right? So
Oh,
that's a
which is
factor too.
yeah.
Yeah, I wish they did it right, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what's really galling is 25 years into or 35 years into glossy paper, like do you not get how it affects color yet? Why are you
Yeah,
doing this?
well, I mean, we might be in the minority in thinking that. Like, I think the casual reader likes the bright colors and the glossy paper. I mean, I have a brother who's a big collector and he loves it. So I'm the
Philistines, all
artist
of you.
that disagrees with him. So I mean, maybe I'm a little snooty, um, but that's just how I see things, I guess. So
Mm,
we're all artists. How was everyone's art week? Did you guys do any art for this episode?
I sure did.
No, it was non-existent for me.
Well, you had a very busy week, Colin.
Yeah.
Did you, Eric? Did you make anything?
Yes, I did actually.
All right.
I did a couple of things.
A couple. Oh
Well,
no! Showing us up.
yeah. You want to go first, or should I, or
Yeah, I'll
what?
go first. This is the first time I've gone widescreen.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Nice group shot.
thank you. Yeah, I was just trying to capture. I don't know
Looking for
the.
Charlie.
Yeah, just like there's not much going on because you're right. It's the day to day. It's the everyday of it. You go out on patrol, you get back. Most of the time, not much happens.
Yeah, very cool. And yeah, you drew a lot of characters. That's not easy.
Well, I had Michael Golden to assist me because they really are all so distinctive. It's quite easy to nail down who's who and what do they look like specifically.
That's a testament to Michael Golden's designs. Yeah, like what I
Yeah,
was saying about John Severin is that the designs are so distinctive and so good that they're foolproof. I think.
yeah. The like El Burgo is especially is he's just got such a distinctive face.
Yeah, definitely. So,
What do you got, Eric?
well, not related to this, I did a commission.
Yes,
So
yes.
somebody
Nice.
Look at that.
requested something from Assorted Crisis Events, and it was basically like my choice. They want something that I really want to draw, I guess. And so this is the one of the characters from Assorted Crisis Events. So
Yeah,
yeah,
what is his name? He's the through line.
yeah. So he's gonna show up in. He'll be in at least one panel of every issue, but sometimes more. And like we'll see his story over time. Right now, he's got the sort of urban legend name in the comics, which is the Broken Man. But he does have another name, which
Oh, great.
we will reveal eventually. But I didn't do that for this episode. Specifically for this episode, I didn't do anything for our last Michael Golden episode. So I really wanted to lean into the Michael Golden technicals. And so I wanted to draw something super technical. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, I did this Punisher. And
Sick.
Yeah, boy.
I don't know if that's focusing, but um, yeah, I draw a lot of digital stuff. And it's a lot easier digital. You can just sort of like
Yeah.
um, get a reference for the gun, and maybe you get a digital file and just sort of like copy it. But this was like on paper with pencil. I'm gonna do it the old-fashioned way, like Michael Golden, and
The
do
old
like an
straight
accurate
edge out.
looking gun.
Mhm.
And yeah, so and also I'm just trying to get better at color. So this is a mix of watercolor and markers,
Nice.
and a little
Yeah,
bit
it's
of
a
paint
great
markers as well. So
great color choice too. It works well with the black and the white. The use of the purple.
yeah, I mean, I'm in early stages playing with color, so I just basically
You and me both.
I steal color palettes from art that I like. So
Oh shit! I should do that.
yeah, start doing it because like so I found an image and from an artist I really like and colored by somebody else, but and I'm gonna steal color palettes until it's all imprinted in my brain, and then I can't find it. Points to anybody in the comments that can find the cover I stole the palette from.
Oh, nice.
But
Yeah, is that a an actual gun that you found, or is that like a reference
It's an
to?
Uzi, isn't it?
I
I'm
thought
no gun
Uzis were.
expert, but yeah, it's an actual gun of some kind.
Is it? Wow.
But
Yeah, I thought Uzis were a lot more simple, but
well, I think it's an Uzi with a whole bunch of
oh, okay.
add-ons to the top. I mean, I sound like a fool right now because I don't know gun stuff. Like when I say
Yeah,
add-ons, I don't know.
who among us does? We're Canadians. We don't really know guns.
But yeah, shall we close it out?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can do that. All right, cool. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Right on.
Cool.